Hey guys, welcome back to AlgoYogi. We are doing two pointers series. Our next problem in the list is check if two strings arrays are equivalent. Let's go to the problem on LeetCode. Description is quite simple. Given two string arrays word1 and word2, return true if two arrays represent the same string and false otherwise. And string is represented by an array. In the array element concatenated in order forms the string. I don't know what the fuck this meant, but anyway. So two arrays, word1, word2 represents, basically has this list of strings, and if you concatenate all of the strings in word1 and you concatenate all these strings in word2, if you compare them, if they're equal, return true. If they're not equal, then return false. So that would be the brute force solution to this problem. But that would basically take when you're creating like a separate joint string of word1 and you're creating a joint string of word2, then it's like you're utilizing memory that's like big of m plus n. If m is the total number of characters in word1 and n is the total number of characters in word2. Now, can we do better? So that would be the brute force approach. I can just immediately write the solution right here. Let's write it down, return, and that will be accepted, I think. So return join everything in word1 by delimiter empty string, and if this is equal to basically everything in word2, then I think word2, then you return true, otherwise you return false. So let's submit it. I'm not even going to test it. I think this will get accepted 100%. So this is an accepted solution. I think they're just not really looking for the memory optimization, but we should do it. I think that could be a follow-up to this problem. So let's see how we can do that and keep the time complexity big of maximum of m or n. That is the number of characters in word1 and word2, but bring down the space complexity to big of 1, or like constant space. So let's see how we can actually do that. We have already solved it using the big of space complexity big of n plus m, but let's bring it down to constant space. So this is my word1, this is my word1, this is my word2. These are two arrays containing these lot of strings, and we just needed to check by concatenating them if they were forming equal strings. But do we really need to concatenate them? How about we have two pointers, one pointing to basically in the word1 to the first word, and second one pointing to j pointer pointing to the characters in word2. But remember, these are themselves strings, right? So you can't really, how will you make sure that you are transitioning to the next word when a particular word is ending, because they're not of some equal length? It would have been easy that way. So that is why we will have two more pointers, and that will basically point to word1. So w1 will point to word1 in first array, and w2 will point to first word in word2. So in that way, we will make sure that we are transitioning, basically changing our word, incrementing our word whenever my pointers basically are pointing to the end of those words. Otherwise, we keep comparing. If my I and j are basically pointing to the same character, meaning they are equal, and we keep, if they are not, then we return false. Otherwise, we just keep incrementing I and j, both together. Otherwise, if they ever come across to their respective end of the word they're pointing to, then we increment word 1 or word 2. And in the end, I think what will happen is either they will basically the algorithm will either return false in the check when we are checking if I character is equal to j character. If they're not, return false. Otherwise, it will process the entire word arrays, word 1 and word 2, and it will never come across where they were mismatching, given that we were transitioning word or w1 and w2 to the next word whenever we were ending the word. And in that case, I think in the end we can just return if w1 is pointing to the last word, the length, not the last word, but the length of the array, because at the end it will also increment once you are ending this with the I and j pointers. And I think in this case it's going to return true. And remember, we are just playing around with the 4 pointers, this time 4 pointers, not 2 pointers, and no extra space, just iterating over word 1 and word 2 and returning true if they're equal and false in this case, because I and so w1, w2 and I and j. So I think when j comes over here and I will come over here, this is not gonna be equal to, so c will not be equal to d, and that's where you return false. So this will return false. All right, I don't know if there is anything else to explain here. We have already talked about the time and space complexity. That will be, we'll write down that later. Okay, let's remove this one, or maybe, you know what? Let's comment it out, because this was our brute force solution. So we can say brute force. All right, now let's write our proper solution, most efficient one. Okay, looks good. As I said, we're gonna have basically I and j pointing to the characters, and w1 and w2 pointing to the words. Initially they'll be all 0, so one liner. Then we can start basically a while loop. While my w1 is less than length word 1 and w2 is less than len word 2. Okay, we will basically keep going if they are both are within the constraints of our words respectively in word 1 and word 2 arrays. Okay, they might not have similar length, definitely not. They might be, but if they were having similar length, I think that's also fine. But I think in the end we were supposed to return true. All words combined in both word 1 and word 2, they will basically be equal. So here, if my word 1 and w1, now they're pointing to a particular string, and I in this one, if it is not equal to word 2 array, and then w2 pointing to a particular string, and then the pointer pointing to the character j, if they are not equal, then we return false. Otherwise, we just increment them, you know, I plus 1 and j plus 1. So otherwise we are incrementing, moving on to the next character to compare. Here is the trick. If my w1 basically, so if my I is basically becoming equal to length of word 1 w1, right? If I ever becomes equals to a particular string that we were currently iterating, and I is pointing to the end, like it has ended, it has gone through the entire string, the word, and now it's just even out of the bounds, then what you want to do, you want to increment your w1. You want to increment it and also assign I to 0, because it's gonna again start from the 0 index in the new string that w1 is now pointing to. And same thing we're gonna do if my w2, basically j, becomes equal to length of word 2 w2. all right, then we basically increment w2 by 1 and j is set to 0. Otherwise, it will keep going, keep checking the characters if they're equal. If they are not, then return false. Otherwise, keep incrementing words and characters through these 4 pointers. And in the end, either it will basically return false, or it will come out as w1 and w2 pointing to basically w1 and w2 pointing to the end of the word. It might happen that w1 and w1, whatever characters it had, was combined together. They were equal to w2's character, but only up till the one before the last index, so valid index. So there was one extra word, so now that will not be pointing to the end. That means word one, w1, all words combined in w1, basically word 1, were equal to all words combined in length minus 1 of w2, word 2. So that's just a scenario. In that case, we can't just return true over here. We will have to basically check if w1 is equals to length of word 1 and w2 is equals to length of word 2. I think now this is perfect. All right, let me zoom out and we can just try to run it on example. If there is an issue, we'll find out. There is not, so let's submit it. Awesome. You know what, I don't know, I think in terms of time complexity, it's 14%, but I guess it will be better in the when we were just joining and comparing. So let's write the time complexity. Time complexity is big of max of n and m, where n and m are the number of characters in both strings, and then space complexity will be 1. Okay, let's go back to AlgoYogi, mark this solved, and see you guys in the next problem. Until then, bye bye. I think the fire alarm went off, so I gotta check that.